We're back on the Optigan, and I'm in the middle of cleaning the switch matrix for the chord and rhythm part. And I've also sprayed out the reverb and balance pots, and this thing's just seen more alcohol than George Best, but it was really in need of it. I think what I'll do next is spray out these switches, and then I'm going to attempt a power up. I know it has been powered on before, so it should be okay. I expect it's going to have a lot of dry capacitor hum. A new bridge diode, bridge rectifier has arrived. I'm waiting for a new filter capacitor for the mains to turn up. But this is where we are so far. A couple of amusing points on this. To prevent electrical shock, do not remove back. This is on a sticker inside the unit, so by the time you've got to the sticker you've already got it apart, which is weird. And then opposite that sticker there's another one that says basically, for best sound, turn it up and try the plug both ways in the socket, which just kind of goes to show how corny these things were. Something to note about the power switch, it's on this big mechanical linkage, and inside this cage all there is screwed to the back of here is just a little micro switch. And somewhat unusually here, despite the little sticker in the back saying put the pedal right down, the pedal's actually sprung, so it won't stay completely down, it falls back down again. Whether it's supposed to be like that, I'm not entirely sure, but it always returns to zero, so you have to have your foot on it to be able to get any sound out of it at all, including even the rhythm and chord section. In fact, scratch that, now I look at the back it's pretty obvious there's a giant spring that pulls the pedal back, and on the front there's a little strap that holds it in place, so yes, it's definitely supposed to spring back. And now that I finally have a lamp, we can take a better look at the amp board and transformer. I think I've sussed out how the 110 voltage bulb and motor are wired in. I think the transformer is a standard dual primary, and the bulb and the motor are wired across one of the primaries, and then the two are wired in series to give it the 230-240 input for UK use. That could mean that the motor is technically running at the wrong speed, but actually no, because I think it's a DC motor, so it may not make any difference. But the tempo control and the speed control is mechanical. I believe, I've got to get into it really, but I believe it uses some kind of conical idler wheel, and it just moves the idler wheel to give a different diameter. But I will probably try and get a little closer into this assembly and have a look at that. As far as I know, there's nothing actually wrong with it. There's no problems with rubber disintegrating or anything like that. If I move the drive wheel, it is moving the disc around, so I think that's fine. It's all been hoovered out. The cobwebs and dead spiders have been removed. So I think if I try a power on, the next thing I will do is probably pull this amp board out. Luckily most boards and parts of this thing seem to be on plugs, little plugs there. So 4 screws from the other side, remove all those plugs, and that should come out really easily. I guess it made them really easy to assemble by doing it that way, but it sure as hell makes it easier to take apart. And the reverb contacts and everything I want to clean up as well. So let's see what happens with the power on. Okay, a little update. We have power, and if I put the volume pedal down, we've got a bit of a hum, which sounds like capacitor hum to me. The keys, I've got nothing. That could be a contact issue. There is a disc in, but the rhythm section is working. The keys are taking a little bit of pressing, but that could just be a bit more cleaning. The reverb, I believe, only works with the keyboard half. The balance control is humming like crazy there, so that could be the capacitors in the right half of the stereo amplifier, but it's working. Geez, a little bit sticky. So these keys aren't the greatest. It's got a bit of an interesting smell. That could be the bulb that won't clean it. It could be a capacitor. I've sniffed around it, turned it on and off. You can hear the humming when I put the pedal right down. So it just sounds like capacitors to me. I haven't changed anything yet. As I say, I'm waiting for a replacement for this one, and I have already a bridge rectifier. I think that one's okay, but if I'm going to replace the capacitor, I'd like to replace the rectifier at the same time. This particular disc that's in doesn't actually have the little cutout for the lights, so it doesn't have the downbeat indicator, which is a bit weird, because I'm under the assumption, as this disc seems to be fairly common, that this is perhaps the one that came with it, but it doesn't actually have the 4 little cutouts and the red marker for the downbeat. That's working now. I think it could do with a clean, the actual disc. I'm not sure what number 5 is even supposed to be. That's just making a horrible screaming noise. And the keyboard, half, nothing, just a nasty hum. So it could be that half of the amplifier is not working. The rhythms and chords use the left speaker, the keyboard uses the right speaker, so if we put it over to the right it's just humming, so there could be an open circuit there. A little look around the back. Dan, the owner, has told me that the optical pedal simply works by enough light leaking out of the bulb straight onto the sensor for it to work, so it doesn't need a bulb of its own. And the idler wheel, if it's adjusted, see if we can zoom in on this a little bit. It is a mechanical idler wheel that, if I can adjust it, I'm not sure if I can show this very well, it does actually move a little pulley. It's kind of hard to see. Let's see if I can get a better angle on this. I'm not sure this is very clear on film. It's very difficult to film without disassembling it. I'm not sure if you can see the part that's moving as I change the speed. There's a little assembly that slides back and forth. The little wheel that's sticking out is a kind of conical idler wheel, and I actually think it moves the entire motor. I'm not certain. I would like to see a little more of this, but without disassembling it, it's pretty difficult. But it's a pretty fascinating little assembly. I've just attempted to clean the disc with just a little bit of window cleaner, and it now doesn't sound so great. That could be maybe that the idler wheel needs cleaning. The rhythms seem to be okay, but definitely a bit dip there, so a bit more cleaning is needed there. Still nothing from the keyboard at all. I think that's an amplifier problem. So maybe that one is supposed to be applause. I have no idea. High speed mode. That one doesn't lock down properly. It's pretty patchy, that one. Works that way. they work fine. So a little more adjustment on this side. This also doesn't quite sit properly when it's unscrewed, so that could be a lot to do with it. Yeah. So the adjustment of the height of this seems fairly critical, so I'll have to get that right. There's quite a buzz when it's turned off, which could be the Duff capacitors attempting to discharge. But I think amp rebuild, or a recap at least, is in order. Let's see if we can get anything from this keyboard half. Do a little more cleaning and alignment on the chord and rhythm buttons. They're literally just strips of foil that plastic buttons press them down against contacts on a circuit board. They're so simple. So that's really just lots and lots of cleaning. All the connections are fine. I just think a recap will be the next major stage, and I think pull the amp board and get a good look around that. Check for a few dry joints and things like that as well. And as we've seen this working, obviously this capacitor is functional and the diode is fine for now. I did disconnect and measure this capacitor, and it was measuring about 305 microfarads, so a little high, so it could be a little worn out, but generally any capacitors, any old capacitors across any kind of reasonable voltage, I would change just for the sake of longevity. So a new 400 volt capacitor and 400 volt or a 600 volt rectifier diode will be going in there to replace those. But that's where we're at the moment. More to come.